Good morning. This is what happens when you're married to a man who's been on the Stewardship Committee forever. I'd like to start with the Bible verse that Pastor Scott chose for this consecration time. John 15, verse 5, I am the vine, you are the branches. Those who abide in me and I in them bear much fruit, because apart from me, you can do nothing. So picture with me a moment this morning, Jesus the vine, with each of us attached as a branch. Every one of us has a story about how and why we give, and that varies throughout our lives, doesn't it? Sometimes we have more time than money. Other times we have more money than time. Sometimes maybe we can't give it all. Other times our joy and gratitude overflows into our giving, freed from any limit called a tithe. John 15, verse 4, just as the branch cannot bear fruit by itself unless it abides in the vine, neither can you unless you abide in me. I've been thinking about what informs my giving. I realized that part of my journey with financial gifts comes with some emotional baggage about money. Perhaps that is true for some of you as well. I grew up in a farming family during exceedingly lean and dire economic circumstances. My first career in journalism came with a meager salary. I knew very well how to budget. My mother was an expert. My budget did include giving to my church, even though I didn't know much about abiding. At age 31, still single, I answered God's call to the vocation of law. I quit my job, which most might consider less than prudent for someone with a house and car payment. My pastor at the time knew it would be difficult for me to stop giving financially, in part because the church I was attending would be closing its doors the next June. He basically gave me permission not to give as I began my law school journey. It's a longer story, but I will tell you that God incredibly blessed the final year at All Saints Lutheran Church on Norwich Avenue in Columbus. And he supplied my needs in amazing ways. The blessings he bestowed during that time still leave me in awe and fill me with gratitude. When our Lord had taken such good care of me, how could I not give to his church once I became a lawyer? How much more so could I give after gaining real financial security when this guy at my new church decided he loved me enough to marry me in spite of my ownership of a cat? Other than the feline, it turns out we had lots of common, even in our giving percentage of our earnings. And when we talked with the pastor about marriage, his biggest concern was that we would lower our giving as a married unit. His worries were not well-founded. Tom and I came to All Saints because we were in a congregation where 3 children participated in congregational life. 2 of them were Abby and Rachel. I wanted my girls to be in a healthier congregation where they could experience God's love more fully. I wanted them to be equipped for the challenges ahead, challenges I never faced in my growing up in this secular society. At first, fulfillment of this desire seemed less than a sure thing, The girls were not happy with the move, but I was reminded God has his own timing. Lisa Brooks joined the staff, things began to happen, and Abby and Rachel, while less than certain about the prospect, left for that first high school mission trip to Bluefield. Many of you have witnessed the life-changing transformations in those participating in these high school mission trips, not only in the youth and adults who participate, but also here in this congregation, in the enthusiasm in our support. Now we have a young adult group building on this tradition of service and sharing God's love with their hands, feet, and hearts. They too, like our high school youth, are pulling in friends, some of whom don't know what it means to be part of the vine called Jesus. In the trip earlier this year to Palmer, Alaska, lives were touched beyond our walls, including the 98 Fund staff and a group of older adult tradesmen from the East Coast. Can you imagine what they thought when this group of young people came in and wondering what in the world's going to happen? They found out our kids know how to work. Isn't this what we hope and long for? That the Spirit moves to add more branches to the vine? How do we help others grow in faith and love as Jesus' disciples? How do we show God's love to our neighbors? What efforts and investments in staff and lay leaders require? Financial resources. What materials and training are needed? What do these tools of outreach look like in this world of individual isolation and polarization, of technology and social media? How do we build relationships that lead to unity in the vine called Jesus Christ? Investment in mission, people, and programs requires not only time and talent, but commitment of financial gifts from many branches of the vine. While we abide together in Jesus, our combined giving will move mountains as God wills, in combination with prayer, faith, and service. Apart from God, our efforts will fail. So, people of all saints, I encourage you to abide, and I hope you'll do the same for me. Let us abide in God's loving kindness, because giving is much, much more than a financial contribution to a church. Giving is entwined in the mutual love we share with Jesus the vine and one another as the branches. Thank you.